Hey everybody, this is Craig Cottle, Director of Nature Reliance School. We have a treat for you. Fellow instructor of Nature Reliance School, Tracy Trimble, is going to be with me today on camera. Pretty cool stuff. And what we wanted to do was cover winter tree identification. When I come back, I'll explain why. Winter tree identification is the topic for today. Here's the reason why. You need to understand your tree species to understand BTU content, different uses for, let's say, building a bow drill set, the different ones that will make good carving instruments, any number of things. You need to know how to identify trees without leaves. So that's what Tracy's going to help us with today. All right, Tracy Trimble.
Absolutely.
How are you doing today?
Doing great.
So we're going to be talking about trees, right?
We are going to talk about trees.
So first off, tell me some of the tools of the trade. What are these two things you have right here?
Well, as your eyes get older, as you approach 50, which I am,
Yeah.
you need some type of magnifying glass to see these buds.
Okay, so I'll put a link for this in the video below.
Absolutely. This is a great one that I carry, and this is the one I've been carrying. It has a light with it.
Oh, nice.
That shines, and it really helps
Okay.
to be able to identify the small buds and stuff that we'll be talking about today.
So I'll put the links for both of those below. Also, I'd like to talk about this book again. This has all the winter and summer characteristics. My favorite book in the world for trees, The Illustrated Book of Trees by William Carey Grimm. But that little tree booklet, Winter Tree ID, do you still use it?
Oh, I do, yeah.
Okay, I'll have another book that I don't have with me today, and I'll put a link for it down below as well. All right, so let's talk about our first one. What's our first one?
Well, the first one that we're going to talk about is a fairly easy one to identify. It's our poplar tree. And if you take a look at the end of the terminal bud, which is the bud at the very end of it that terminates the twig, it has a resemblance to what I refer to as a duckbill.
Okay.
And as you start studying the trees and stuff, you'll be able to see, remarkably, you'll be able to see that from a distance.
So are
be
all
able to
the
identify that while it's up in the air.
So all the trees have a terminal bud like that?
Not all of them. Some of them have a non-terminal bud, which falls off to the left or right,
Okay.
and the twig continues on. Some of them will have cluster buds, like your oaks.
Oaks.
Definitely do. But this is a real good representation of a good terminal bud.
Anything else about a tulip poplar jump out for you for ID without the terminal bud? What else?
Other than, along with the winter ID, people need to also start studying the bark
Okay.
as well, naturally.
Okay.
And whenever I move from identifying trees by the leaves and moving into the winter ID of the bark, my eye does not pick up bark differences. I do not have an artistic eye.
Okay.
So moving into the buds and stuff really helped me identify some of the trees. Now that I can go in the winter and identify trees by buds, I have starting to pick up some of the bark ID too as well. So
All right. What's next?
Terminal buds. Since we're on terminal buds, let's take a look at hickory. Hickory is a good one. See the big terminal bud at the end of it.
So what do you think that looks like?
Well, identifying what it looks like to me, I haven't really put a name on it.
Okay.
But something that you'll be able to see that big terminal bud sticking up in the air. And you'll be able to, remarkably, whenever I first started, I thought, well, I'll never be able to see it. But once you start identifying them, you'll see that sticking up in the air.
All right.
Of course, hickory trees is good if you're trying to squirrel hunt in the wintertime.
Sure.
And be able to identify and all that.
So definitely, that's probably one of the bigger terminal buds, isn't it?
It'll be one of the bigger,
Okay.
For us around here.
Okay. Next.
Next, let's talk about, here's another good identifying bud. This is our American beech or beech. We kind of identify the bud on this as looking like a big cigar, like a wrapped cigar.
Okay.
It has a lot of scales on it, and you'll be able to see that easily.
All right.
Okay.
Good one. Next.
Next, let's go with, here's a good one. I just got a tree down on my property the other day. Is a dogwood. And you'll be able to see from a distance, you'll be able to see the flower buds that's hanging up in the tree. And these little flower buds will stay on the tree forever.
Okay.
Here's another one, dogwood, that does not have the buds left on it, but you'll see them as little daggers. And they'll
At
be
the end.
coming out, absolutely. Just little bitty daggers sticking
So
out
these
of the ground.
flowers, are these two different species of dogwoods then?
They're
Or?
the same.
Okay.
Same, just one one had all the buds and stuff. The flower buds had fallen off. So,
Oh, okay.
so I went ahead and grabbed it. And
Gotcha.
we got dogwood down here too. So.
Okay.
But the reason I got the nice to be able to identify the dogwood is I'm trying to make some wood hammers for my wood shop
So
and
we
stuff.
do that in bushcraft class. One of the things that we do is dogwood is one of the hardest woods in the forest. So we utilize that for, I use it for flint knapping tools. We use it for bushcrafting tools. So it's a good one to know.
Yeah. Here's a box elder, false maple. It has, if you look at the twig, sometimes your winter identification is not necessarily the bud, but it's also the twig and how it's designed. This twig, if you look at it, it looks as if the twig is shooting out. Every type of scar where it stops growth.
Each chamber.
Yeah, each chamber just looks like it just kind of shoots another.
Now,
growth
are those opposite on all of those chambers there?
Absolutely. The you'll be able to see the leaf scars that are opposite, just the same way as opposite twigs.
Okay.
So the old adage of the mad bucking horse.
Tell us what that is, because a lot of people don't know. I've said that a couple of days ago in a video, and people asked me about it.
If you're identifying trees, the little acronym MAD bucking horse, M-A-D, bucking horse. The M stands for maple, the A is the ash, D is dogwood, H is horse chestnut, and
Buckeye.
and B is for buckeye. So if you're trying to identify a tree and you notice that the twigs or limbs, leaves, are opposite, then you automatically fall within one of those trees.
Mad bucking horse.
Mad bucking
Okay.
horse. So it gives you an idea. It just narrows it down, and you can start
Right.
working on that kind of stuff. But box elder.
Next.
Here's a sourwood. Now, one thing about a sourwood, and I have to get a magnifying glass to see this, but inside of the leaf scar, there's a bundle scar in there, and that bundle scar is only one. It only has one bundle scar inside the leaf scar where the leaf had fallen off.
Okay.
Helps you identify what the sourwood is.
All right.
Absolutely.
Next.
Eastern redbud. Eastern redbud, you can see the twig is zigzag. Every time it makes a growth, it zigzags in the opposite direction. And you'll be able to see that as it's hanging up in the, highlighted by the sky.
Nice. Cool.
Sourwood zigzag and
So I think that'll get you. Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Here's one more. The ash tree. If you look at the end of the bundle, the terminal bud, it looks like a Phillips screwdriver.
Okay.
Right.
Nice.
So ash trees for me is very hard to identify. It's
Yeah, me too.
One of my that I had trouble with. One of the trees I had trouble with. But if you can pull that twig down and be able to see the terminal bud, and if it looks like a Phillips screwdriver head, then you've got an ash tree.
All right, so hopefully that gives you a start. What we'll do is we'll put this all in a blog piece for you. We'll have links to these magnifying glasses that Tracy has utilized. I have one very similar. We'll put links up for this book, and we will have the other book that's a small pocket guide, the little pocket guide.
Absolutely.
I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's a good book. And hopefully that'll get you outside. Again, our emphasis for Tracy and me is to make sure you understand your tree species so that you can get the best firewood, for one. Why not get good firewood that's going to burn hot instead of getting something that's not going to burn hot? Secondly, particularly for those that are doing bushcrafting like hand drills or bow drills or any number of things, knowing your tree species is adamant. That's it.
That's all I got here. Yeah,
All right.
Absolutely.
Good. Thanks for coming.
All right.
Always.
Appreciate it.
Come on, join in.
And let's learn together.